Hey there. Alright, we already got 3. 4 in here. We'll wait just a couple more seconds. Give other people, I know that there's a few other people who are going to join in, and then I'll start talking about what I'm going to talk about today. And then for those of you who are in here, if you just want to type a little comment so I know who's here. Otherwise, I'm going to start talking about color and the power of color. And if you have questions along the way, don't hesitate to message your questions, type your questions in, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. So, today I wanted to talk about the power of color and the power that color has on our everyday life. Because as a spiritualist, spiritualists work in accordance with natural law. And I know I've talked before that natural law, most people are familiar with things like law of attraction because of movies like The Secret. But the two that are most mentioned are law of attraction, law of vibration. So law of vibration states that everything is in a constant state of flux and movement. This is something that's not some spiritual or metaphysical concept. This is a scientific concept. Everything has a rate of vibration. The molecules, the atoms, and everything has a different vibratory frequency that gives us our perception of its density, of its reality, of its relation to other things. And so light, like everything, has its own vibration. It's like when you were in school and you were looking at, when you were in physics class and they had the white light shining through the prism, and then the different frequencies break down into the rainbow. We see this with actual rainbows in the sky because the water crystals refract the light, and so the different colors have different frequencies. There have also been a lot of studies with psychology and the brain that show that different colors have different effects on our mood, our energy, our personality, and different people respond to colors differently. There are also other people who believe that different colors can actually have different effects on the body. I know some of the work of Edgar Cayce talks about working with different colored light to stimulate healing in different aspects or different areas of a person's life or their physical body and their physical well-being. One sec here, just checking. Okay. So I want to talk about the different colors, what they represent, how we can use them to enhance our life, and then I'll take questions as we go and we'll just kind of see what happens. So as visual people, I think, tend to respond very well to color, but I also think that people who are feeling oriented tend to react to color, and it's pretty interesting how color influences us without us even realizing it. If you think about the nature of the language we use, color is kind of ingrained into it. We talk about having a red letter day, or being green with envy, or feeling blue, or we call someone yellow, or all these different things in the way that we speak, in different colloquialisms and things like that. It goes beyond just that this was a random thing, I think, that people assigned to a particular emotion or assigned to a particular quality. It's that in this universe, everything has correlation. It's kind of going to that Hermetic axiom of as above, so below. Or if you look at some of the Christian mysticism, as on earth as it is in heaven. So things that are of a non-physical nature affect the physical, and things on the physical correlate and correspond to the non-physical. and all things connect and synchronize in different ways. So the colors that we see, even in everyday society, have an impact on us. For example, if you go into a restaurant, you will often see reds, oranges, and yellows. Reds and oranges and yellows, those warmer colors are stimulating colors. We tend to associate red with, spontaneity and immediate action, and it's severe and it catches your attention. Those warmer colors tend to stimulate and excite the nervous system. So one, these restaurants want to stimulate your metabolism, and you eat more, you buy more. The other thing too is it gets you in and out. That stimulating color, it has an element of speed to it. So they want to get you in, they want you to eat, and then they want you to get out. You will hardly ever notice restaurants that have blues and purples and greens, because those are calmer, cooler colors. They promote an environment of relaxation, and those colors have actually been known to decrease appetite. They say if you are trying to lose weight or you overeat, that you should paint your kitchen like a purple or an indigo or a blue, because it helps to, when the brain interprets the vibration of that color, it creates calming. So color everywhere is sending us signals. It's a communication, and half the time we're not even aware of it. And it's interesting too, because as a clairvoyant, I often see the aura surrounding a person, and the different colors I've noticed represent different personal qualities. I remember being in high school, and when I was in elementary school, we were kind of the last generation who had the old-fashioned green and black chalkboards. By the time high school comes around, everything is the white dry erase board. So when I was developing clairvoyant, I would be in class, and the teacher would be in front of the whiteboard, and I would start to see sort of this hazy outline around the teacher, and then if I could hold that hazy outline long enough, it would start to expand into color. And of course the colors always deviated from each other a little bit, but I tended to notice a common correlation that people in the field of teaching tended to have a lot of blues and turquoise in their vibration as part of that quality. And so as a reader, when I'm doing psychic readings, when I'm working on that auric level, I'll often look at the aura itself, and that can give me information about a person that I wouldn't be able to ascertain just by looking at their physical appearance or their body language. The colors that you are attracted to, the colors you wear, the color that you paint your house, all reveal different things about you, your personality, your strengths, your weaknesses. And you can use that to your advantage, because we're human. We all have different things that we aren't proficient in. We all have different lessons that we're learning. And so by supplementing the vibration of that color, we can actually help, sort of expedite that issue or that lesson, or alleviate some of the consternation of different things that might be associated with that particular block. So I want to do a rundown first of just some of the colors and the qualities that are associated with those different colors. So if we're going through the rainbow of things, obviously we'll start with red. Red is, as I said, red before is a stimulating color. It's a very passionate color. We tend to think of red as being associated with intense love or intense lust. Sometimes red can be angry, and it's a good point here to make that it's not necessarily the color itself, but also the shade, tone, or tint of color that can reveal its different properties. Red is a very confident color, and so even by consciously choosing different colors in your wardrobe, you can bring certain qualities to yourself. Red is one of those colors that says, I'm here, I'm bold, stand out, notice me, I am assertive. So if you have a job interview, if you can incorporate red into your wardrobe in some way, that is an excellent thing that's going to make you stand out in the mind of the interviewer. If things are sluggish and you're trying to stimulate a certain quality, bringing red into that area or bringing red into that particular issue is a great way to sort of encourage and stimulate and fire up, so to speak, whatever it is that you happen to be working on in that regard. So we've done red, and now we're going to go into orange. Orange it's also sort of an assertive color. It's an exciting color. I always say when I see orange in a person's vibration, that orange is a creative color. I see it a lot with people who are very artistic, both in the way of whether it be musically artistic or painting or drawing or visual aesthetic, whatever it is, orange is that creative color. The other thing too, when I see orange in a person's aura, orange is what I call my color of transition. And this isn't something that I've noticed with a lot of other people. This has just been a personal observation of my own. When I see orange in a person's aura, there's usually some sort of a change or transition affecting the home and living situation or that person's career. Now, depending on how close or far in the aura that color is to the body may indicate how far off or how imminent that change or transition is. But orange is definitely that transition kind of quality, at least for me, and how I perceive and interpret color. So yellow is another color that it's a confident color. It's a very uplifting color, but yellow is very much a color of intellect. It's very much the mental realm. There's a wisdom that's associated with yellow. Yellow, if you're familiar with astrology, think about the planet Mercury. It's sort of governing communication, and I say the same thing about the color yellow. People who tend to be very mind-oriented, the intellectuals, even there's a teaching element to yellow as well, tend to have a lot of yellows in their aura. Engineers, inventors, scientists, lots of yellows in that regard. It's cheerful. It's a cheerful color, so it can bring a stimulation in that regard as well. Now, adversely, too much yellow can overstimulate. So I remember there being an article where whoever wrote the article, it was a man, or maybe it was in a book, was talking about the classroom that he had in a particular year of grade school, and he would get headaches every day, and the yellow of the walls created a physical reaction in him. It was too much yellow, it was too much stimulation, and it actually contributed to him having headaches and migraines. So keep these things in mind too when you're painting your house, or when you're picking, color of furniture for a place, a space, the sorts of qualities you want to bring in your home. Too much of one thing can be a bad thing, as well as too little of one thing can be a bad thing. I know for me personally, when it comes to a home, when it comes to walls, I cannot stand white. In a general sense, I like white. It's a very crisp and clean color. It's associated with purity. But when I walk into a home or I walk into a building and the walls are white, it is the most bland, sterile, personality-less type of feeling that comes through. As I said, in other aspects, in other regards, I love white. I like to wear white. I don't very often because, white shirts don't last long with me. I'll get something on them. They usually get ruined the first day that I wear them. But white to me is just so blasé inside a home. And too much color can be sort of chaotic, and it can kind of create conflicting qualities. So again, just something to keep in mind. Now, green is an incredibly soothing color. Green is the color of growth. A lot of people associate prosperity with green. To me, if I see deeper greens in a person's aura or in their vibration, they're usually involved in the health or wellness field in some way. If I see lighter greens or more yellow greens, it's what I call my energy of growth or accelerated growth, where they're going through a lot of personal expansion, a lot of learning. and kind of it's expanding and growing in their own self, and usually at a speed that's a bit of a faster pace than usual. But green can be incredibly, as I said, incredibly healing, incredibly soothing, but it's all about stimulating new growth, new opportunities. Blue is very soothing. Blue is also a healing color. Blue has elements of protective qualities to it as well. Too much blue can cause us, if we think of like, I feel so blue, you know, it can cause depression. It can cause us to be a little muddied. But if someone is overactive or hyperactive, you know, blue can be very evening for them. So blue is also a good color for truth. It's a good color for any sort of justice or balance that's being sought, and expression, stimulating communication, stimulating the communication of feelings, especially that feeling, emotionally oriented self. Then you get into the darker blue. So you start to move from that primary blue or that sky blue, and then you get into indigos. And usually indigos are sort of mystical in nature. You know, the color indigo is very much an intuitive color. It correlates to the third eye, or the brow chakra, the center of clairvoyance and intuition. It's about, to me, indigo is about revealing what's hidden and seeing sort of beyond the veil of things. So you have violet or purple. Purple is a very spiritual color. It's a spiritual vibration. Purple has a very high vibration to it. It's less dense. So if you think of like light on the color spectrum, those warmer colors are slower, longer wavelengths. The higher, cooler colors tend to be faster, higher in vibration, shorter wavelengths. So purple is also associated with the concept of the Aquarian age. So and I'm not an astrologer by any means, so my astrological knowledge is very basic, I guess, for lack of better words. But if we look at astrology, most people know their sun signs. I'm an Aries, I'm a Capricorn, I'm a Taurus, I'm a whatever. So the Earth goes through cycles that are governed by particular age, ruled by a particular sign. So, for example, the age of Christ, the past 2,000 years, we were in the age of Pisces. And we know that Pisces has elements of mysticism and mystery and martyrdom to it. There's elements, you know, secrecy, stuff like that. Now, you know, it's what the hippies were talking about when they were singing about the age of Aquarius back in the 60s and the 70s, and the exact date of this shift from Pisces to Aquarius, an astrological age. I've heard some people say 1,500 years. I've seen some people say 2,000 years to 2,500 years. But some people say that we entered that age of Aquarius in the 80s during the harmonic convergence. Other people said that it hit with the new millennium. Other people are saying that we're just getting into it. But the Aquarian age it's about connection. It's about it's a group dynamic. It's not one person for themselves. It's everyone's in this together. Interestingly enough, the American system of government is an Aquarian system of government, democracy. An American system of government. It's not perfect, but it's what we have. So purple is a very spiritual color. It represents our connection to Source, our God, whatever your higher power is. Again, it's another very intuitive color. A lot of people used to associate it as the color of royalty, because getting purple, the plants that purple dye was extracted from, was sort of rare and hard to find, therefore more expensive. So only the elite could afford to wear purple. So there's sort of this royal, regal element that comes along with the color purple as well. And purple is my favorite color. and which is purposely why I wore this shirt today. So purple, as I said, it's also imaginative. It helps stimulate the visual aspects, I think, of the mind. Pink is an aspect of red, so it does have a stimulating quality to it, but pink is very much an affectionate color. So it can be romantic in nature, but oftentimes to me, pink is more of a color relating to friendships and platonic relationships. Whenever I see pinks in a person's aura, it's what I see as someone who is a natural nurturer or caretaker by nature. It's a soft color. People who have that pink in their aura tend to be a little bit more on the sensitive side, but to me it absolutely is a loving feminine vibration. White, you know, if we think of light, white has all of the colors in it, and black as the absence of light, as to where if you're working with pigment or paint, it's the other way around. White is sort of the absence, and black sort of contains all of the color. But in regards to light, which is color, energy, vibration that we're working with, white contains all of the qualities. So you can never go wrong with utilizing white. When we're going to be talking about some of the meditations and visualizations that were going on, people talk about surrounding yourself from the white light, you know, there's lots of stuff like that. But white is a color of purity, it's a color of innocence, it's a color of oneness. You know, lots of people tend to think of death as associated with black, but to me, death is transition, and white sort of kind of represents like birth and new beginnings, and so that's how I see more of the energy of death and rebirth. Brown is a grounding color. It's an earthy color. It can also be healing, but to me, brown deals a lot with the energy of home and your environment. You know, if you're one who is not the most grounded person in the world, or very ADD, easily influenced, you know, wearing a lot of brown or incorporating a lot of brown into your environment can absolutely help to ground you. It's a color of stability, and it's a color of humility. Black, on the other hand, has gotten a negative rap. So black to me is actually one of my favorite colors, next to purple and turquoise. But black is a color of power, because if you think about black, if you think about darkness, if you think about it in the context of what you can't see, there's an element of mystery. It's a void, but it's from the void that unlimited potential and possibility exists. So black is very, very protective. But again, if we're trying to bring something about, if we're trying to create, if we want to tap into the mysteries of life, I think we can absolutely use and incorporate black. You know, that being said, I don't think that there's anything wrong with the dark side of life. You know, people on a spiritual path tend to be black or white, good or bad. You know, everything is for a lot of people sunshine and rainbows and all that sort of stuff, but that's not reality. That's not practical. You know, if you want to understand yourself as a soul, look to nature. There is you know, one of my favorite movies is The Craft. In the movie, there's a quote that I really love. The main character is in a pagan shop, and she's talking to the owner of this shop, and she makes some sort of a comment about black magic, and I'm paraphrasing here, but she says, you know, magic is neither black nor white. It's both, because nature is both. It can be cruel and it can be kind. And I think that that's life, you know, or God or source or you know, spirituality or oneness, whatever you want to call it. It's not always love and light. We have to embrace and learn from the shadow, or embrace and learn from the ego, and we need to learn to appreciate the dark as much as the light, and walk a balance between those two, to kind of walk in that gray area in the middle. So also because black is protective, it's sort of a color that sets boundaries. So people who wear black tend to actually instigate a certain amount of intrigue because they look mysterious. We want to know a bit about them. It's a very kind of a professional, clean color as far as how you dress for something important. You can really never go wrong with those neutral colors or black and white. But black also says, hey, look at me, you can notice me, but don't get too close. Like, this is my space. So it's almost paradoxical in that sense, which is just one of the many, many reasons that I love black. Now, two of the other colors that I do want to mention here are silver and gold. So gold is associated to me, if you think of the divine or source or God or whatever you want to call it, you know, with everything in life, you know, natural law of gender states that masculine, feminine qualities exist within all things. As above, so below. We're, you know, made in the image and likeness of Creator. We're both male and female. So everything, even divinity, has masculine elements and feminine elements. And we sort of humanized that into Mother God, Father God, you know, Christ, Mary, pagan gods, pagan goddesses. And some people take them as specific individual beings, and other people see them as aspects of the divine feminine and divine masculine. I'm not here to tell you what to believe either way, but silver is very much an energy of the divine feminine, or the Holy Spirit, or the goddess, so to speak. It's balancing, it's harmonizing, it's associated with the moon and intuition and dream and secrecy. Gold, on the other hand, is more of a masculine vibration and correlates with the father energy, or father god, or, you know, with the god and the goddess, more of the, what we think of as like the horned gods and the young gods. It's that type of energy. Gold also has a lot of wisdom to it. Again, if we think of things as gold as being successful, as being valuable, sometimes unattainable, which spirituality can sometimes seem to be. I almost just got dive bombed by a bird. That's what I take into account when I think of gold. So any form of success, abundance, prosperity. And when I say prosperity, I don't mean necessarily money. We can be prosperous. We can be abundant in a multitude of ways. We can work with that gold energy or that gold dynamic. So we've gone through some of these different colors, and we've learned the qualities of the different colors. How can we incorporate them into our everyday life? Well, 1 and 2, we've kind of talked about a little bit, which is your wardrobe and your environment. You know, paint your walls. Certain colors are better for bedrooms, as I said, kitchens, living rooms, things like that. If you have a speech to give in class, you might want to pick that blue color to wear to stimulate that creative and expressive quality. Another thing that you can do is you can actually douse to see if there's a particular color that you're lacking. So the easiest way to douse for these colors is just use your body as just a feeling mechanism. When I look at this color, am I attracted or am I repelled? I know for myself, I go through different periods where it's like I crave certain colors, as weird as that is to say, and I know that that's a vibration or a quality that my body, my mind, my spirit may need. If you don't trust your feeling, you can always use another dowsing tool like a pendulum. So if you don't have a pendulum, you can even just use, you know, a ring on a string, or a necklace, or a pendant. And here's one thing too that I want to say as far as the pendulum, because I work in a metaphysical shop and I see a lot of people do some really weird stuff with pendulums. There is no such thing as a pendulum that won't work for you. There is no such thing as a pendulum liking you or disliking you. There is no such thing as the pendulum having any power of its own. It is just a tool, and it's not moving by itself. The pendulum doesn't have a consciousness. It's a feedback mechanism for your higher self and your subconscious through minute, almost unregisterable muscle movements to give you yes or no indications. So I'm not going to go too much more into using a pendulum here. Most people are familiar with at least having their yes and no, and then just seeing, is red a color that I need right now? Is orange a color that I need right now? You can also use muscle testing or kinesiology to see if there's a particular color that your consciousness could benefit from. So some people will use another person and doing muscle testing with the arm, or you can actually use your fingers. So purple, I'm wearing purple. Is purple good for me? And I'm trying to break apart that ring with my fingers, purposely, consciously resist with the ring. It's staying strong, so I know purple's great for me. You know, is purple good for me and I'm unable to hold the link? Then that's your body's way of saying that through muscle weakness in this moment, in response to this question, this is something that does not resonate or harmonize with you. One of the easiest ways outside of wardrobe and your environment to utilize the vibration or quality of a certain color is through visualization. So, you know, I kind of made a joke earlier about people surrounding themselves in the white light, but visualizing color can bring that quality or that vibration of that color into the aura or into your vibration. So, for example, if you are, let's say, running a fever, you may benefit from the color or the vibration of the color blue by closing your eyes, seeing it, picturing it, visualizing it, imagining yourself surrounded in that blue light or that blue color as a way of calming and cooling the body and the inflammation. So think of a particular color or quality that you may want to bring into your life, and then visualize as you're breathing consciously that color into your auric field as a way of benefiting from the vibration and quality of that color. I guess, too, another quick thing that I want to do, and then I'm going to go into talking more about some of the energetic anatomy and the subtle anatomy, is using numerology to figure out what your power color is. So people talk about like power animals and spirit animals, but when I say your power color, it's simply using numerology, which works off of numbers. In this particular case, we're going to be looking at the birth date to see if there's a particular color that supports you the most, that brings a certain medicine, or that brings a certain extra something to your life. And the way that we do this is through finding your personal life path number, and that is ascertained by looking at your birth date. So if you don't know anything about numerology, I will say right off the bat, I'm not a numerologist. As with astrology, I have a pretty basic understanding of it, so, you know, don't expect a lot of fascinating numerological information from me. But what we're going to do is we're going to find the color, the vibration that correlates with your life path number. So if you're watching at home, grab a pen and a paper, and if you suck at math, grab a calculator. So you find your life path number by adding up all the digits individually in your birth date. So for example, if someone was born on January 4th, 1905, break it apart like this: 1 plus 4 plus 1 plus 9 plus 0 plus 5. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 9, 14, 15, 16, 17, 20. So if I did my math right, which is very possible that I didn't because I suck at math, that's 20. But with numerology, you always break it down to a single digit unless you're dealing with the master number, which I'll explain in a second. So 1 plus 4 is 5 plus 6, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah. So with 20, it would just be 2 plus 0, which breaks down to 2. So if this was your birth date, 2 would be your life path number. The master numbers are when you're breaking down your addition if you hit 2 reoccurring numbers. So the numbers that you would hit would be 11, 22, and every once in a while you'll bump into 33. Those are your master numbers. But most people, it works with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Of course, you don't have 10, 11, 12, because 10 would be a 1, 13 would be a 4. As I said, the only exception would be those master numbers, 11, 22, 33. So, if you are a life path number of 1, not only are you a leader, are you comfortable taking the spotlight, things tend to be oftentimes very much focused around the self, but you're assertive and you can get things done. If you are a 1 life path number, the color or vibration that most supports you is red. If you are a 2, 2s are intuitive. 2s are very good with communication. 2s are very good with partnership. 2s have a sensitive quality about them. They can be the balance seekers in a person's life or the peacemakers in a person's life. So if you are a life path 2, the color that's going to most support you is orange. I also want to take a moment here to say too, even if you do have a life path number of like an 11 or a 22 as a master number, like myself, my life path number is 11, break it down anyways, and then look at the quality of the basic unit. So like for myself, I'm an 11, but when I'm looking at myself, I'm also going to take into consideration the qualities of life path number 2, because you're kind of like 2 squared or 2 amplified. 3 is very much a creative vibration. It's an artistic vibration. Again, that 3 represents the body between the balance between body, mind, and spirit, and the ability to sort of spin, I think, multiple plates in the air. So as you can probably start to see that there's a little trend here. If your life path number is 3, your vibration is best going to be supported by yellow. 4 is interesting because 4 is a color of stability. 4 is a good, it's a good foundation to build upon. Some people associate 4 with home and family and all of the qualities that go along with that. So if you're a 4, the color that's going to best support your vibration is green. 5s are interesting. 5 is very much a number of transition. People who are 5s tend to not stay with one thing for very long. The idea of being tied down in a relationship or tied down with the mortgage tends to not be their cup of tea. So even if that's part of a 5's experience, they have to have other things that make them feel like they have their freedom. They don't like to feel deprived of their freedom. So if you are a life path 5, you're going to benefit most from the color of blue. 6 is a parental color. It's a nurturing color. People who are 6 life paths are natural parents, natural caretakers. And if you are a life path of 6, you're going to benefit most from the vibration or the color of indigo. 7s, 7 is a mystical number. For some, 7 can be completion, but usually in numerology, 9 is associated with completion. But again, it's a spiritual, it's an inspirational sort of color. And as you've noticed, this trend of the rainbow correlates with purple. 8 is an abundance vibration. 8 is an eternity vibration if you think of the infinity symbol. And if you're an 8, you're going to benefit most from the color vibration of pink. 9, again, we get this completion sort of quality to it. So 9 is very much to me a color, or not a color, a number of destiny. I tend to find that people who are 9 life paths tend to be, have a teaching quality to them. And if you are a 9, a sort of a bronze color, so like a mixture of gold and brown, is going to sort of be a power color for you. And if you did identify as a master number of 11 or 22, again, think of the base of 2 or 4, but 11s are going to correlate to silver, and 22s are going to correlate with the power color of gold. So I want to talk very quickly too about how to make color user-friendly, because it's like, okay, here's this list of color, and this plus this equals this, or this means this. It's like, how do I keep it straight? Again, think of the language we use, think of feeling more than anything else. But one of the easiest ways to have an understanding of the symbolism, the communication, and the effects of color are by understanding the chakra system, which I'm going to go into right now. So, in our body, we have our physical anatomy, we have our subtle anatomy. Our subtle anatomy mean the etheric body. So chakras, aura, meridians, nadis, things of that nature. So if we think of the aura, we talked about different things that I would notice when I would see the color of the aura around a person. That aura, this field of energy, has to be generated from some sort of a source. And that source is the chakra system. So chakras, or if you're English, it's chakras, are centers of energy that are in the body. They go up and down the spinal column, and they correlate with the glandular system of the body, or what some people call like the ductless glands within the body. So they resonate or correspond or correlate to the different vibrational frequencies of light, because everything has this light energy, this light quality to it. We literally emit light. Human beings technically are bioluminescent. It's at a range that's far below what our eyes can perceive, but we emit light. We're electrical beings. So it makes sense that the rainbow, or the fragmentation of those light spectrums, exists within the body and are required. That rainbow is required for us to be healthy and balanced on a day-to-day basis. The chakras also deal with physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of our life. Some people don't take the chakras in a literal sense. I, however, do. But if you don't believe in it in that way, feel free to look at it from an archetypal point of view. So I'm going to go through each one and kind of explain it. And I also want to keep in mind, too, that in the New Age, there have been a lot of teachings on transcendental chakras, or people kind of redefining how many chakras we have in our body. I do believe that we have many, many chakras or points of energy in the body, but I'm a traditionalist, and that I like to stick to the old 7 chakra paradigm. That's what I believe, that's what I see in the body, and that's what I teach by. So, and hopefully this isn't a new thing for you, and if it is, I hope that I explain this well enough. So, these centers of energy sit correlating with different glands through the body, up and down the spinal cord. At the base of the spine here, you have the root chakra correlating with that red vibration. The root chakra is all about security and stability. So it's our survival, and it's often those basic survival senses, the things that we worry about: food, water, shelter, not getting eaten by something. Those are the energies tied to the root chakra. Sorry about that. I thought someone was pulling into my driveway. On a physical level, The root chakra correlates with the adrenal glands in the body. Some of the lower intestines, the kidneys, to me, all tie into the root chakra when I'm looking into a person's body or if I'm working medical intuition. I also say this: the root chakra is bone, blood, tissue, joints. It's the structural sorts of things of the body. It's the foundation that everything builds on. So moving into the orange, we have the sacral center, and this is usually under the belly button, sort of in the pubic area. It correlates to the male and female reproductive elements, so the gonad, the uterus, all that good stuff is all associated with the sacral center. I like to call this particular chakra the chakra of drug, sex, and rock and roll, because as we said, orange is that creative color. So this has to do with things that we crave. This has to do with things that we're wanting to give birth to. It's very much a center of intimacy, and usually it's more of a carnal intimacy, although there's an element of it that is more about an emotional intimacy. So moving up to just under the rib cage, you have the solar plexus chakra, vibrating with yellow. To me, this is the seat of your personal power. This is your sense of self. This is your sense of individuality. This is your seat of balance. On a physical level, it correlates with the spleen. I see a lot of digestive issues sometimes with the solar plexus. Skin issues too, because it can be how other people perceive us can sometimes be solar plexus, but that can also have a connection to root chakra, because remember, it's skin, it's structural as well. Solar plexus, again, it's our personal boundaries. It's our ability to maintain our own space. It's our will. There's also that intellectual element to it as well. Stomach issues, digestive issues, middle back issues can all be tied to solar plexus. Coming up to the heart, we're moving into that green vibration. So the heart obviously correlates with the physical heart, but also as far as glandular connections, it's the thymus gland that correlates with this particular energy center, and the heart is very much love, emotion, care, nurture, that sort of thing, kind of what you would expect the heart to be. I also find too that the heart chakra ties into the respiratory system as well as the circulatory system. Now on here you probably can't tell too much, but I actually think this should be a lighter blue and this should be very much a darker blue. So in the throat is more of like a true blue or more of like a sky blue, and that correlates with the thyroid. The throat center is the center of communication and expression. So am I speaking my truth? Am I able to speak my truth? Do I feel comfortable verbalizing my emotions? Even communication in written form or in a form that's sung is part of expression and communication. So again, elements of respiratory can be tied to the throat, just depending on the emotional nature of what caused any imbalance in the body in the first place. But throat, tongue, tonsils, mouth kind of issues can sometimes be throat related. The third eye, the center of clairvoyance, or the brow chakra, is very much connected to the pineal gland, which is almost like a little pine cone shaped gland, just a couple inches above the actual eyes and a couple inches, well, I would say a little more than a couple inches back behind the forehead. The pineal gland does a lot with regulating cycles of in our body and very much connected to our hormones, but this is also on more of a spiritual everyday level. Not only is it our spiritual sight and intuition, but it's our ability to have clarity in our own life. Can I see my own path? Can I see a clear vision of the future? Can I see a clear vision of my goals? And then lastly, this purple, violet, sometimes you'll see it as white, crown chakra at the top of the head is our connection to source. Usually when the crown chakra is imbalanced or negatively affected, there's some sort of a neurological or nervous thing going on in the body. Absolutely anything affecting the brain, headaches, stuff like that. So just by having a basic understanding of the chakra system, that can give you a basic understanding of the majority of what color represents and symbolizes. And in addition to that, if you're wanting to benefit or heal, attempt to heal the physical body or bring some relief to the physical body through color, having an understanding of what the symptoms are can give you an idea of what chakra or energy center may not be operating at maximum capacity. So if you're having a lot of stomach issues, that's going to tell you that chances are something is going on with the solar plexus. And then, just if we're sticking with color, there's so many different things we could go into, like looking at the underlying emotional issues, and that's a whole other talk in itself. But then you can work with that vibration of yellow to try to stimulate a balance here. Wearing it, visualizing it, thinking about that color. If you're trying to bring balance to a certain chakra, sometimes even just finding, if you have a hard time visualizing in your head, find an object, find a banana, and as you look at that banana, as you take that yellow, as your eyes take that yellow in, just breathing deeply into that solar plexus as a way of taking on the benefit of that color. Another quick flip thing to look at is sometimes an area may be overstimulated. So, for example, the crown chakra, you see this violet. Let's say someone's having seizures. Obviously, they should do everything the doctor tells them to do, but perhaps there's an overstimulation taking place in the crown chakra. Well, if you think of the color wheel, you would use complementary colors. So the opposite of purple is yellow. So if you think a particular part of your body is being affected by too much of one color or too much of one quality, find the other, the complementary color on the color wheel and start working with this to balance out this. Or, if the throat, needs balanced in some way, you might want to introduce some of this to help tone it down a little bit. Instead of stimulating it, we're calming it. So having a basic understanding of the chakras and colors go hand in hand. They can help you in so many different areas of your life. That's just a quick look at the many, many benefits of color and how we can use and benefit from color in our everyday life. So I see that there's still quite a few people in here that have stuck with the entire thing. If you have any questions about what we went over, or if there's something that you want me to repeat, go ahead and type it, and I would be happy to answer any questions you have or go over something that you may have missed. No questions? I'll give you just a couple more minutes. And I'll go back through here and see if there aren't any questions. If you're interested in learning more about the chakras, if it's something that's kind of, new to you, one of the books that I would recommend is True Balance by Sonia Choquette. It's got a lot of good information in it. It doesn't try to talk over anyone's head, and it's a practical. It's not just this plus this equals this. It's practical ways and everyday changes that you can make to help bring balance to those chakras and those qualities in your life. If you want to get deeper into the subtle anatomy, if you already have a basic understanding of the chakras, you want to go a little bit deeper, there is quite a few books about the subtle anatomy by Cindy Dale. and I think one of them just is called Subtle Anatomy. And then one of the classics, one of the staples that's been around for a long time is Hands of Light by Barbara Ann Brennan. So definitely check those out. If you're interested in color, there is the one book that comes up off the top of my head. I think it's by Richard Webster. It's an introduction to color, I think. And then Ted Andrews has a book on healing with color, and I think it's just how to heal with color. And that's one of the small, basic books. That's a good starting point as well. But if there's no other questions, I hope that you enjoyed it. I wanted to try something a little bit different. I know I've been doing the question and answer thing, which has been popular lately, but I wanted to do something that was more in the lines of educating. Because those tended to turn into reading sessions, which I'm okay with, but I just wanted to do something that was a little bit more informative, because a lot of people message me, they see the classes and the workshops that I offer, but they live on the other side of the world or in a different state, so I thought, here's just something little that I could do that people can learn from, maybe pick up a few different things, and they can access it from the convenience of their own computer. But I appreciate you guys sticking in. I appreciate you watching. I hope you learned, and you'll be seeing me around. So have a good evening.